So today I'm here to talk about trees. So I hope this is, even if trees aren't your favorite thing, maybe this will be an eye-opener about how trees can benefit your community. And so we are actually now a team of two. Madeline is moving on to the city of Indy, so but Jacob and I are a team of two, and we serve the whole state. In our program, we help rural and urban communities with their urban forestry projects. So we work with even Mount Ayer. I think it's like one of the smallest towns that we work with. It's like 160 people. So people hear urban and they think, oh, you must only be working in Indy. But we work all over the state. And so we do a lot of things. First, we have pass-through grants that we get from the Forest Service. And so this helps to fund communities that are trying to do tree plantings. Maybe they want to do a tree inventory, urban forestry management plan that helps create a plan to how we're going to manage trees. We just funded the first ever arborist apprenticeship program in Indiana, which is really awesome, and that was through Indiana Arborist Association. So grants are a huge thing that we do. We also do a lot with technical assistance. If someone comes to us and they have a project and they're not sure how to do it, how to go about it, we help with that. And actually Madeline, before she left, we just published the Indiana Tree Species Selection Guide, which is a really awesome resource. So I have a couple copies in the back, and if you don't get one but you want one, feel free to email Allie or whoever and get to me, and I'll get you one. And it's meant to be for planting in, in urban areas, but just anywhere you're trying to plant trees and you're trying to decide what would be the best habitat and what's the right species, right? So it is kind of geared towards, what would be good on a street tree, but if you live in the woods, you can still, look at this and kind of utilize it. My job is the outreach, which is why I'm here today. And I also put on tree steward workshops. So if you, how many Indiana Master Naturalists do we have in here? Wow, quite a few. Very good. Okay. So Tree Stewards is not quite as intensive as Indiana Master Naturalist, but it's a tree care workshop, 2 days. I put on 3 throughout the state each year. I'm going to have one in Goshen, September 11th and 12th. If you really want to come out, no pressure. It is kind of a drive for you guys. But it's awesome for learning about how to properly plant a tree, how to properly maintain a tree. If you're passionate about maintaining your neighborhoods and that sort of a thing, trees are an important aspect of that. So definitely welcome you to come out to that. And then I also put on our Arbor Day poster contest, which is for 5th graders. And last year, so this coming year, it would have been 2024 to 2025. We did have one Fort Wayne school that was a part of it, and I think that's because, who knows, Trees Indiana, has anyone heard of that? Yeah, Carol Cavell, she has been really big on promoting the Arbor Day poster contest. So if you're connected with any schools at all, please do feel free to, we're good?
Cool. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'm saying I'll connect with schools on this.
Oh,
program.
good, yes, yeah, thank you, yeah.
So it's only 5th graders?
Yes, and we're probably going to get more submissions this year because Indiana 529 approached me and said, we want to provide some scholarships for the winners. And I said, yes, please. So, yeah, it's going to be more of an incentive as well this year. Okay, so moving on to Fort Wayne. What does the tree cover look like? And that's going to kind of inform what the benefits are of the trees, right? So you might have seen satellite imagery of Fort Wayne on the left, and you can see the top left-ish areas where the downtown is kind of like the grayer area, right? And then if you look then on the right there, you can see where there's less green, where the downtown area is. That's normal. So you can see downtown there's not as much tree canopy cover. That's normal. You also might notice where the rivers are supposed to be, there's dark green, right? And that's because we have good riparian buffers. And you guys come to wetland talks all the time, so you know that that's important. So that's kind of a common thing as well to see, where the Wabash and St. Mary's are covered in tree canopy. But The sort of more interesting part of the canopy cover is when you start to look at things like heat severity index, right? And so the dark red is where it's the hottest, and this is the perfect time of year to talk about heat, right? And so I want to point out where there are less trees, it is a lot hotter in the city. And so that's due to who's heard of heat island effect? Yes, that's when you have sidewalks and blacktop and all of that, and they reflect all this heat, and it just kind of circumvents and makes the city hotter, which most people understand. That, you know, when you on a hot day you come out from a shop and you're like, why is it so hot? It's like, oh, that's the gray infrastructure and so trees really help to reduce heat island effect, which, you know, for some of us it's like, oh, the heat is inconvenient, but I mean it can be traced to reducing number of hospital visits related to heat-related illnesses. So it's bigger than just, oh, it's inconvenient that it's hot where there are not trees. We start talking about quality of life and where there are trees in cities, and there are often inequities where there are trees in cities related to the history of the neighborhoods and what was invested, right? Where the cities and towns have invested. So sometimes pictures help too, because I can just feel, you know, what each one of these looks like, right? Feels like. I don't know what's going on with the urban trail. I saw something on the news about it, but anyways, I got this picture to show it. There are some trees, which is awesome, and you can imagine if there was no trees, it would be really hot, right? But I still think if I was going to go through Southwood Park, does anyone live in Southwood Park? Yeah, because I've talked with a few people there, and I know that you guys are very passionate about your tree cover in your neighborhood. And I could just feel that this is a cooler spot, and this is, for me personally, what I would like my neighborhood to look like. So if you are a numbers person, I have some numbers for you. If not, don't pay attention, that's all right. So here I have land cover, 2022, and so you can see the canopy cover is the amount of tree cover in an area, and in Fort Wayne you have about 24,000 acres, which I have on here the correct percentages because I always forget them. So the canopy cover is 23.9%, and then the impervious surface is all the gray, you know, the cement and the buildings and stuff, and it is more normal for impervious surface to be bigger, and that's just because it's a city. Like that's part of it, right? But so the impervious surface, you have about 29,000 acres, which comes out to 27.8%. So people are like, is that a good percentage? Is that a good canopy cover, right? And we kind of say there's not one percentage that is the best. Really, we say the higher the percentage canopy cover, the better. Also, the more diverse of trees you have, the better. And you guys have probably heard about emerald ash borer and all these different things, right? So we really focus on improving and maintaining the canopy and including diversity, right? But I will say there are, you know, some cities and towns that have goals for their canopy cover. So Goshen is ambitious, and they have a goal to have 45% tree canopy cover by 2045.
Who?
Now that's a lot. In my mind, if you hit 30%, you're doing pretty good. And I also like to compare to other cities and towns. You know, Fort Wayne's really special. There's not a lot of cities and towns in Indiana that are as big and as populated, right? So I decided to compare to the Congressional District 7, which is just like the inner box of Indy, not getting into like Carmel and the outer donut. So it has more people, but the acreage is about the same as Fort Wayne. So comparing that, the percent average canopy cover, which I should say that these are averages, it'll vary from neighborhood to neighborhood. But for District 7, they're at 28.9%. So slightly higher, but like I said, it varies a lot. There's some neighborhoods that just have insane amount of trees, and there's other neighborhoods that really need them. So that's what the canopy cover looks like. And now that we know about canopy cover, we can get into what are the benefits of the canopy cover in Fort Wayne. So looking at water quality, right, which you guys I'm sure are very passionate about, seeing as though you come to a lot of Eagle Marsh talks. So trees are really, really important for taking in water and reducing stormwater runoff. And so these statistics are pretty insane, right? Just for trees transpiring, which if you don't know, that's kind of trees drinking up the water and then using them and then breathing them out through their leaves. Trees in Fort Wayne take in 2,180 million gallons per year. It's a lot of water. And then you can peel apart too, how much rainfall do the trees intercept? 730.6 million gallons per year. And then I would say my favorite part is the avoided runoff, right? I don't know how many spots in Fort Wayne have combined sewer overflow, because usually you have to go neighborhood by neighborhood separating the storm water and the, do you guys know about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a big dig now, so we're,
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're separating them. That's awesome. But this is what contributes to reducing, pollution in waterways. 148.3 million gallons per year of avoided runoff. And imagine if we planted more trees, if we maintain the trees we have, how much this could increase, right? Which I do like to point out that there's this, EPA has a standard for impaired waterways, and Fort Wayne has a percentage of about 21.22%. I will say that I just did a talk in Crawfordsville, and theirs was 40-something%. And I have to believe that Eagle Marsh plays a huge role in reducing that percentage. Like, I don't think that's a high percentage considering how much river and waterways you guys have in Fort Wayne. So kudos to Eagle Marsh, I must say. And again, pictures help, right? So this is a levee, which not every place can have trees, but it looks kind of ugly, and you can imagine the water's just going to run right off there, as opposed to this beautiful tree-lined river here. This is Fort Wayne. And the more that you have that, the more they're going to be able to protect the waterways, right? Okay, let me get into air pollution. Trees help reduce air pollution, which is a big deal, right? And so I have this picture here on some long-term effects of exposure to air pollution. Most people think about respiratory issues, asthma, that sort of a thing. Kind of caught my eye. They have infertility, childhood development issues, probably things that fly under the radar, because how do you connect, air pollution exposure to some of these underlying conditions, right? And so trees can help with reducing air pollution. And it's really cool. So most of these statistics I got from this suite of tools called iTree. And so if you guys are interested in exploring that, it's free. It's developed by the Forest Service and a bunch of other partners. And there's different tools. There's one where it's called My Tree, where you can just walk up to a tree, kind of guess how big it is, put in the approximate location, and it'll give you a nutrition label of the benefits of that tree over 20 years and annually. So there are some really cool tools here on iTree, and I use iTree Landscape, and so they bring together all these data sets, and they estimate that trees remove all these different air pollutants every year in Fort Wayne: ozone, particulate matter, carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide. And that saves the city of Fort Wayne $2.6 million per year. You think about hospital visits, you think about all the associated health costs that come with the issues of exposure to air pollution. That's a lot of money. And if you're passionate about climate and carbon, you can also talk about how trees store and sequester carbon. So in Fort Wayne, we have $217 million net savings in carbon storage. So that's just storage. And then how much they take in every year, or sequester, is $6.1 million of savings of carbon, which I can get you the stats of the tons, but you know, money talks, right? So I like to put the money on there. And then we can peel apart a couple separate air pollutants. So we talk about ozone. And you have an average ozone for, you know, an average day, and then a maximum ozone for the days where there's no clouds, it's really hot, there's no wind. So you have that kind of maximum exposure. And so Fort Wayne the levels are pretty good for average, and it just kind of hits right at the advised limit for health for the maximum. So ozone isn't terrible. Particulate matter, it is a little bit higher, and I will say that take this with a grain of salt, because the standard doesn't take into account how long the particulate matter is in the air. So there's a little bit of science behind calculating that, but pretty high particulate matter. And then UV is a big one, right? And so your average UV, most of the time the EPA is going to suggest you try and stay in the shade, or you get some sun protection. Where can we get shade from? And then also on the max days, it can go as high as, you know, the EPA recommending that you stay indoors. And so when we're talking about people in poverty, people that can't go indoors, what do trees provide them? They at least provide some semblance of, you know, ability to not be exposed to these, you know, air pollutants. So pretty important.
Plastic and all, you know, there's tons of stuff that burns when there's a forest fire that goes into populated areas. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not an expert on it either, but.
Well, I know there were a number of my friends that were affected by that, that they had trouble breathing those days.
Yeah. And there was a warning even here in Fort Wayne about, you know, they did warn people to stay.
Right.
Yeah, the fires, it's crazy how far the smoke spreads for the wildfires, for sure. Yeah, I'll have to do some research. Good questions. Yep. Yes, indeed.
And I get upset. I drive down Jefferson, and they recently ripped out acres of 200-year-old oak trees. So they can put up more new places, and there are vacant lots.
Yeah,
Signs,
development.
call me if you want to use this lot, you know. So why, it seems that our city people should be thinking about preserving trees like that, rather than just bulldozing everything flat. And I know I'm getting old, but I remember, and across the street from these very places where they bulldozed everything flat, there are some lots that have commercial buildings, and they also have big oak trees that they allowed to stay.
Yeah. There is a
so we
way.
talk about education, yes, our city.
Okay, yes, so I really love the point of there's development, and there'll be more River questions at the end if you're able to hold on to it.
I'll try.
There's development issues, there's lack of awareness of education, of why trees are important, there's invasive species, right? So now we can get into the portion of what can you guys do in your community? How are trees governed in your community? And what are some steps moving forward? So, if you didn't know, most cities and towns have what's called a tree ordinance, and that's a set of rules that the city puts in place for what you can and can't do with public trees. Sometimes they'll have something with private, but usually it's about the street trees in the right of way. And so City of Fort Wayne has one. It's on Chapter 99 of the overall city ordinance. And then most cities also have what's called a tree board. And so the tree board is what fixes issues if there's a violation of the ordinance, if there's problems, complications. There can be development issues that they might look into. And so in Fort Wayne, actually the park board doubles as the tree board. So that's Board of Park Commissioners. Yep.
Question, where does Derek Feith come in then?
Yes, so Derek is in the Parks Department, and he is the city forester. He can only do work on public trees, which is true for most city foresters. So he is in the Parks Division, but he manages a team that manages street trees and things outside of the parks. So good question. So how do cities then decide what they're going to prioritize? How do they decide where they're going to do work? So sometimes you have a specialized tree plan called an urban forestry management plan. Those are fantastic. I think City of Fort Wayne might have an older one. So City of Fort Wayne has been a tree city for 35 years. So this is really awesome. Tree City is a base level kind of recognition program through the Arbor Day Foundation. And so basically your 4 requirements are you got to have a tree board, you got to have an ordinance, you got to celebrate Arbor Day, and you got to spend $2 per capita on trees, which most cities and towns do no problem. So this is awesome that Fort Wayne has kept this up for that long, and they have also gotten a growth award. So that's if they're going above and beyond and doing more beyond just this 4 requirements, you can apply for a growth award. So tree knowledge, learning opportunities. My tree stewards I already talked about, all things tree care. I have a sign-up sheet that you'll get notifications about our events and things. You can sign up in the back. Otherwise, ask Ella for my information and I'll send it to you. I also plan a statewide conference called the Indiana Community Urban Forestry Symposium. So we do have tree stewards and volunteers come to this, although a lot of the time there's a lot of professionals and networking kind of in the realm. There's universities that come, nonprofits, municipal staff, all kinds of people. And it's going to be in December 9th and 10th in Bloomington. So it's kind of a bit of a drive, but if you know anyone who might want to work outside and might want to network and kind of the younger crowd, I think the
Younger than we are?
Yeah, well, I noticed that I don't think that you guys are trying to get a job or so it's more for if you're trying to figure out your career.
Kids, what are you talking about?
You're right, you guys.
Feed them so they don't.
Yeah, and treat them. And then you guys know about the Master Naturalist program. Sometimes there are tree sessions in there, but the tree stewards is really focused on the tree care. So, all right, team 3 is gonna go first then. All right, so our categories are trivial trees, Indiana history, name that species, tremendous benefits, and who speaks for the trees. All right, so team 3, what you want to do?
Indiana tree history for 400.
This oak hybrid is named after the first ever state forester in Indiana. Yay!
We're in the game.
Finally got on the board.
We get to go again.
All right, what do you want to do now?
Oh, do 500.
Anything.
History tree.
Oh, history tree, 500?
Sure.
Sure.
Okay.
That's how you win.
43 delegates met in 1816 to draft Indiana's first constitution under this tree.
Oh, the constitutionality.
Constitutional elm. That is in Corydon, Indiana, which is where the first state capital was.
100, history tree.
History tree. 1935, the year that Indiana's only national forest was established. What's the name of the national forest?
Hoosier.
Hoosier.
Oh, man.
Alright, one more.
Team one, who can get this? Who can tie?
Get your hand ready.
This person takes care of individual trees for a living.
What is an arborist?
Hey. What is an arborist?
Rachel.
Next time I'll include double jeopardy.
We're in trouble with these, when they start getting the last name.
Alrighty. So thank you guys so much for having me. I have some flyers in the back to talk about my tree stewards, to talk about all the things that we do, and also there's a sign-up sheet to get on our newsletter. So we won't spam you, and that will help you if you want to join a tree steward or just know what's going on. You're welcome to put your email down, and we'll put it there. But thank you guys so much for having me. You guys are great.